All right, what's happening, family? Our movement still moving. It's a reply to you, Painless. It's just a reply because I know sometimes when people reply, they get all disrespectful and all that. This ain't gonna be one of those. When you were saying it was a logical thing about racial profiling, I left a message earlier, but it wasn't the logical thing in that scenario. I like a quote that you said a long time ago, like you can't dip something in chocolate and make it, you know, make sense, for you. And this is one of those times. Which these are the things I feel are not logical. You say a kid is coming into your neighborhood and is going to rob you at a time when everybody's at home. That's not logical to me. Halftime of a game on a weekend is not prime time for a burglar. You know, it's not a breaking and entering's best option. But if you dip it in chocolate, obviously it's a good look. It makes sense. Um, Another thing, getting into a gated community that usually needs codes, phone access, or um, gate access to get into would suggest you probably belong there. Now, do people hop the fences at times? That's happened at times, but when we're talking about in the suburbs, that's not a normal thing. So that's not logical to me. Another thing would be the that how is it that you can say a kid's you're in fear for you need to check out the situation with your gun. Now, why I'm saying that is because George Zimmerman was a law student, not a law student, but a criminal justice student. So he knows crime, law, and all that in that state. His dad was a judge. He he's not. He don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if somebody's gonna commit a crime, at least let them start to commit the crime. Walking is not a good thing. Like, walking is not a crime until you dip it in chocolate. I say all that because of these things. You can't, you telling me, and not mean you as in you, but what you're saying is, excuse me, what you're saying is a person can go watch Monday Night Football, go make a food run, and get shot because of it. You can put that to the Final Four. You can put that to the seventh inning stretch of the World Series or the MLB All Star Game. You can put that to the Pro Bowl. You could put that to any bowl game because that was an All Star Game weekend. So every other person can make a food run, but a young black man. Now, if that would make logical sense for everybody, I can understand it, but it doesn't. So to a degree, I couldn't have a neighbor like that dude because he's not smart. I mean, you trying to tell me you know enough about criminal justice to not know when people are gonna the prime time for robbery? He said it was 15 burglaries in that area. I could promise you, none of them 15 burglaries was at times when people were at home. There probably were times when people left for work, or when school was in and people weren't at home, or late at night when people were asleep or gone. The logic of robbery itself, you check people you know. Nobody just, uh, rarely people just break into your house who don't have a connection to what's in your house. So just because somebody's walking around doesn't that doesn't just because you don't live somewhere doesn't mean you don't belong somewhere. So, oh, the whole scenario that was set forth made absolutely no sense. If you dip George Zimmerman in chocolate and dip Trayvon Martin in vanilla, then all of a sudden logic of every common sense other element comes to play. Like, let's just say, how did George Zimmerman even have a gun? Like, if you dip George Zimmerman in chocolate, Robert Zimmerman, whatever, if you dip him in chocolate and you put on his record that he was arrested and charged for having a fight with a cop, he would not get cleared for a gun. I'm just being honest. He wouldn't. They would say his background is too violent, and if he can't even pay attention to the authorities, then you can't get your own gun. Period. The other thing that is not logical about that is he was in his car. Where was he coming from? Because you can assume that, in a sense, he made the same food run or game break as Trayvon did and happened to just get home the same time he did. But this face is unfamiliar, so this face has to be up to something. Well, stuff like that is a problem. See, it's one thing to racially profile a person. It's another thing, but the problem with it is when you throw common sense out of the window. One of the common sense things was, excuse me, was people act like non-black people, white, Hispanic, whatever, don't make up fictitious black people that committed crimes that never happened. You know, we all know about. I mean, you can go as far as the rape stories. We can go as far as I got beat up in the alley by some random black dude who was 6'1", bald-headed with muscles, wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt. Like, that's what they do in the suburbs. So to say that everybody who robbed them in this gated community was black is kind of ridiculous. But I would also say one of the things that's troubling about it is it's the underlying fact of when you dip the situation in chocolate, the life doesn't matter. Like George Zimmerman said he was, Robert Zimmerman, whatever, he said he was screaming for help. They say Trayvon was screaming for help. Anybody who can understand common sense will say one thing. If I'm holding a gun and I'm pointing at somebody else, I'm not screaming for help. The person who got the gun pointed on him is going to be screaming for help. It's as simple as that. I mean, but other than that, I'm gonna leave that be. I'm out of here, man. Appreciate you. Peace.